And welcome back. Now, the Lutavula Cultural Festival and the Soweto Theatre are portraying cultures and lifestyle through contemporary traditional dance, fine arts, as well as African poetry readings, and most of which will happen virtually. Artistic Director Makhaola Ndebele, despite not understanding the Afrikaans language, also directed a play called Seun Hart by late Ingrid Jonker, a prominent South African poet who wrote in Afrikaans. Now, the play brings issues of identity into the spotlight. It portrays a conflicted colored mother who, in those days, passed as an Afrikaner and got married to a white man. And the 14 years of passage that lives through, and that she lives through, and at the time of seeing her son again, it leaves her with an illusion of a different sort. And I don't want to get too much into that because I want Makhaola to talk to us more about this, amongst other things. So let's welcome our guest now. Makhaola Ndebele is the Artistic Director at the Joburg City Theatres, and Tereska Muishond is an actress and a writer. To both of you, welcome and happy Heritage Day.
Thank you so much. Happy
Thank you. Same to you.
Glad to be here.
So, firstly, why the name Lutavula for the cultural festival, Makhaola?
Well, it means spring. It's a Venda word for spring. And so what we wanted to do was, when we come back, as we were level 2 in the lockdown, we thought it would be a perfect a festival or fiesta, a cultural event to open spring in September. So that's how we came across the name, and it symbolizes a new beginning. It symbolizes when the plants start blooming and so on and so forth. So we thought it would be a great idea, especially because we're using young choreographers from in and around Soweto. So they're the ones who choreographed the pieces. So it's traditional, but it also has a contemporary feel to it, which is brought through by the young people.
And Makhaola, what can people look forward to? What are some of the groups and the performances lined up? And why does dance, music, and song seem to be the most natural way to celebrate culture and heritage?
We have 5 groups, community groups. So the one actually, he's alone. He's called Lebu, the Khoisan, and he does Khoi dance and music. So that's what's very close to his heart. And then we have Bendalo arts group. We have Ponga Projects and Ubuyambo Performing Arts Project. The one is Setswana, the one is Zulu dance, and then the other is Shangaan music. And then we have a band called the Sunga Experiment. They're an amazing spiritually charged band. And I think music, if we look historically, is that it has always been part of our lives, and music and dance. And what I mean is, if you look back through most indigenous cultures, I think any major event is accompanied by song, and whether it's a wedding, whether it's a funeral, whether it's a celebration or a graduation even, it's always accompanied by, especially with us South Africans, it's always accompanied by music and dance. So I think it's in us, and we create special memories through those forms.
Tereska, for you as an artist, especially now during COVID, we're celebrating Heritage Day today, but what has this period been like? And, what are you hoping to bring to people who are distressed, especially given what we've gone through, those who are despondent because of what COVID-19 has brought about? What message would you like to portray?
I've always believed that art is medicine to the soul, and art is one of the things that can carry you through whatever you're going through. And I believe the artists, COVID-19 has forced us artists to think out of the box, because our desire is still to heal, to uplift, to enrich, So I think a lot of us artists actually had to go within and look for ways to actually still reach out to people, to heal our nation, to heal the country. So it was also a much needed break. Because in the industry, you can work relentless, So I think initially it was like a shock, but then it was also, let me take some time to just bring myself towards myself and connect with the greatest artist there is, our creator. So definitely we're excited that we're going back to level 1 because we're going to bring new things. And even this festival is just a proliferation of what is out there, and I think we're going to see bigger and better things from artists and art in South Africa.
And it is Heritage Month, and speaking of heritage, and the play that I spoke about in my opening at the Soweto Theatre. Firstly, Makhaola, you don't speak Afrikaans, but you directed this Afrikaans play. So talk to us about that. How was that experience, firstly? And, why did you decide to do it?
It was a great experience. The people that I worked with, Tereska, Esmeralda, Donovan, the people who were in the play, the whole team, it was just a magic experience. I've been directing plays in different languages. I've done a Setswana play, I've done the Zulu plays, English, and as I was directing the works, I got to see. I always used to look at it from a person who doesn't understand the language to say, what are the actors portraying on stage that would enable a non-language speaker to connect? And I think in South Africa, it's a very important question to ask, because we speak so many different languages, and yet somehow we have to find and connect and find the oneness within ourselves, amongst ourselves. So I came across Ingrid Jonker years back while studying through my love for poetry, and I'd also heard of Sylvia Plath, the English poet who also killed herself. And as I started to find out more about her, I found that she's a very tragic figure that a lot of South Africans today, and especially women and artists, will be able to resonate with. And she'd written only one play, which I came across purely by accident. And then I proceeded to get onto Google Translate and word by word translate all of it. And it turned out to be such a beautiful story, an intimate story about a woman and loss and her son and her relationship with her close friend. So and I think another thing that's important about it is the intimacy. We always tend to hear these big stories coming out of South Africa, but I think it enabled us to go inside a home and see how the other half lives, as it were.
Mm. Tereska, you played the role of Maria, the neighbor, a colored woman who wants to see the mother and son reconciled. This, of course, I'm wondering, the sort of touch points, what resonated most with you, and also what were some of the tensions that arose out of what must have been quite an emotive scene in relation to culture and identity?
For me, it was a wonderful experience. I fell in love with the script the first time I saw it, because Ingrid Jonker, and being a poet myself, it's poetry on paper, on stage, It's also what it's done for me as a colored Afrikaans speaking person. It's with regards to my heritage. I mean, all three of us are natural Afrikaans speakers, but the script sometimes was so deep in the language that we had to also make use of Google Translate, and it was a lot of fun to discover some of the words, that we didn't even know or use, and even also teaching Makhaola some of the stuff. But also with regards to the role that I played, I'm quite the peacemaker in my family as well. But I'm also the person who can expose things. I don't like to sweep things under the carpet. And in this play, my character Maria, she actually comes and she puts the mother and son together, confronting each other, because she's like, this has got to stop. The son is alone. You're alone. Why don't you just reconcile? And it's such a tragic story because this woman is longing for a son that she's imagined, whereas her real son is standing right before us. And for me, it was so poignant because it's so prevalent in our society where our parents, or even just as relatives, we expect something else from somebody else and we're unable to accept the person that is right in front of us. So I think that the play was very relevant.
And, sounds really, really interesting. But how was it received? What sort of feedback have you received, Tereska, from communities in terms of how their culture and language were portrayed?
I was so inspired by Makhaola during this play that I invited a lot of my friends who don't speak Afrikaans. I have one Brazilian friend. She speaks Portuguese and French and English. She doesn't understand a word. And Makhaola kept on insisting throughout rehearsals, I want you guys to tell the story without so much the language, And my Brazilian friend, she's like, I came out of the theater and I asked her what was the story about, and she told me exactly what the story is about. So for me, it was just such amazing indication that, we sometimes allow language to be a barrier between us, but it's not really a barrier. It's if there's heartache, is that pain, those things are universal. Loss, love, joy, these are universal things. So we shouldn't let even our diverse backgrounds and heritage hinder us from getting closer to each other.
And Makhaola, as we wrap this, what would you like to say to South Africans out there?
Well, I'd like them to first of all, let me sell and say, please go to watch these things on the streaming sites of Soweto Theatre and Lutavula Theatre, and that we really don't speak different languages, I like to say. We just speak the same language differently.
Oh, yes.
Now, you can also throw in your final word there for us, Tereska.
No, I'd just like to echo what Makhaola said. We're a rainbow nation, but we each need the other one. And we all need each other's cultures and each other's backgrounds to make this the beautiful rainbow nation that it is.
Well, to both of you, thank you so much. I'm certainly going to check it out. That was Makhaola Ndebele, Artistic Director at Joburg City Theatres, and Tereska Muishond, an actress and writer discussing heritage in relation to theatre. And let's take a quick look at some of your tweets before we